some second half?
Yeah, I'll take it. It makes the day more fun. I can enjoy it a little bit more instead of being at the edge of my seat or yelling at the top of my lungs. So, yeah, I'll take it. I mean, I think we did a lot of work in the first half to set up a second half. Obviously, we were up a man and eventually two, but I thought Orlando had to put a lot of work into the first half to defend us. We had the ball a lot. We moved it a lot. We did a good job in transition to get pressure on them, and they weren't able to find outs. So we made the field small, and we put a lot of pressure on them. We didn't create a ton of chances, but we forced them, I think, to expend a fair amount of energy defending us. And over time, as you know, that over 90 minutes, that starts to wear on you a little bit, and especially a man down. And so gaps started to open up in the second half, which is what we figured would happen. And we were able to exploit them and get into some good spots and get some good goals.
How important was it for Altidore to get those goals today?
I think it's very important. I think anytime you have a goal scorer, it's good to get that sensation of hitting the back of the net. The penalty was always one of those where you get that feeling, but it's always kind of, you always think of it, it's a penalty. So I thought the second one was really good because we got him in front of goal. We got a good ball back across the goal for him, and he attacked it and finished it. So I think, you know, those are the areas we want to get him in. We want to get him in front of the goal and in the box so that he can be the goal scorer that he's capable of being.
What was your take on the Ramos decision? Does it get deserved to get sent off, and how did that change the complexion of the game?
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, it was a very aggressive challenge, and in this league, there's always a fine line when you're coming in a little bit late on somebody, where you're kind of stomping down at somebody. You know, ultimately, it's not really for me to decide whether it's a red card or not a red card. There's a lot of them that I question over the course of a year, so it's not for me to decide. Ultimately, it's for us to take advantage of the situation once it happens, and I thought we did a good job. I mean, for us, it made it very difficult. I thought in the first half, even when they had 11 guys, it was hard for them to get out of the pressure and to get out of their half, and it made it even more difficult when they had 10 men. In the first half, I actually thought that them going down a man was actually not in our benefit a little bit because the play slowed down. We had more time on the ball outside of their sort of compact defense, and we started slowing the game down too much. We were having a hard time at the end of that first half of breaking them down and playing between lines and creating chances because you get this false sense of you have a lot of time on the ball and the ball stops moving, and so everything gets too slow, and there are 8 guys who are behind the ball get time to shift around. That's sort of what we were trying to pay attention to as we talked at halftime, to make sure that even though we had time on the ball outside, that the play couldn't slow down. The ball had to keep moving. We had to force them to keep readjusting their positions, and through that movement, pockets would open up, gaps would open up, we'd have spaces to attack them, and that's what we saw in the second half.
You guys have been on the receiving end of some similar beatings in LA. Even last week the Red Bull Arena 3-0. What goes through the coach's mind when everything the team is shooting is going in the net? And did he say anything to you after the game?
No, he didn't say anything. Congratulations, you know, the normal pleasantries as you walk by, but you know, it's frustrating on a day where, you know, for him, I'm sure for Adrian, it's frustrating on a day when you can't get anything really going, and they had a hard time getting anything going. And then you see your team go down a man, and it feels like nothing's going to go your way on the day, and it's, you know, for him, I'm sure it's a helpless feeling in some ways because there's really not an adjustment that you can do that's going to change it, and we did a good job of, like I said, maintaining pressure. We had a couple moments where I thought we lapsed, where we got a little bit loose and got a little complacent, but by and large, we stayed focused and we stayed attentive to our responsibilities, and we made the game difficult for them.
What was your message to the guys at halftime?
Well, on the attacking side, it's what I said before, is that the game can't decelerate now that we have more time on the ball because they have one less guy getting pressure, and so they're stepping out less to pressure us, and they're going to try to protect their goal. So the ball needed to move quickly. We needed to force them to have to shift a lot more so that we could find gaps to try to play between them and eventually play behind them. So it really helped that we got a goal early in the second half, because then it loosens them up just a little bit, because they know in order to stay in the game, they have to look for moments to try to attack, which then can create spaces for us to break them down going the other way. And so the early goal was key to that, but we wanted to keep the ball moving quickly, and on the defending side, we wanted to make sure that we stayed disciplined behind our attacks so that we didn't give them opportunities and counterattacks and to make sure that we continue to put pressure on them in transition. And again, I thought they put a lot of work into the first half, Orlando, and the second half it just started to weigh on them a little bit, along with the goals and everything else start to weigh on you mentally over time.
We had the team set up in a bit of a different way today. Can you explain the thoughts behind that and how you felt it worked?
Yeah, I mean, the idea was, sometimes when we're in a diamond, we have a hard time getting pressure higher up the field, just because you don't have those wide players and those wide channels up in front to oppose the outside backs. So at times when we aren't dictating the game, as you saw in the previous 2 games, it's hard for our outside backs to take up higher positions, and then when transition happens, for you to be able to oppose the ball high. And so we put wide guys out there whose responsibility was to step to the outside backs, which then put them under pressure higher up the field, and matchups became a little bit more straightforward, right? It was our outside guys against their outside backs. The midfielders were pretty straightforward in a 3-man, 3 against 3. And we were able to get more pressure onto them, and I thought it was excellent. That's why they had a hard time getting out of their half when they won the ball deep in their half. They had a hard time getting out because we were able to get to them quickly and put them under pressure and not give them a lot of time. And in the end, they start looking for Kyle Long, and it's hard for Kaká to get involved in the game when we're not able to connect with each other and put passes together. So then he has to go finding the game, and then he moves deeper and deeper in the game to try to find it, and that's benefit for us. So I thought it worked excellent. At times early in the half when we get into crossing positions, we don't necessarily have a striker in front of the goal because we don't have the size, which we knew was going to be the case. But we thought through good pressure and transition moments, we could create some chances. We thought through good ball movement and things being moved quickly and mobility, we could create some things. And we also thought we would wear them down over the course of time to find our moment to try to win the game.
Greg, could you assess Seba's play today? They played kind of a high line in the first half that more or less neutralized him. Do you think the combination of the early goal and just them being a man down created more space for him?
Well, it definitely being a man down, and definitely when we score, things open up and he gets a little more space. I thought obviously that they're attentive to him. They dropped off and they try to crowd things up, and so they're attentive to the spaces that he likes to move into. But also, as I said before, some of it is we neutralize him when the ball moves too slow. So when guys don't move the ball quick enough, the end result is when Sebastian gets the ball, he doesn't have the time to face up and go at somebody or do something because everybody else takes the time away that he needs to do his thing. So that's why it's important for us to move the ball quickly so that when it gets to a guy like Sebastian or certain guys in key areas, that they have the time to then make a difference. And we gave him more of that in the second half, and a lot of that is because we score and things open up and variables over a course of a game change. And in the end, he does what he does. It makes a difference. But the third goal for me was, I think it was the third one, was outstanding. Just you see how ball movement forces people to come out and try to make defensive plays, and new spaces open up, and eventually it ends up in a tap-in in the backside because we just kept the ball moving, and at some point they're trying to step out of their positions to try to win the ball back, and new spaces open up, and through our mobility and circulation, we end up with what turned out to be a pretty simple goal, but it was a piece of art in my opinion.
I thought Shaver was brilliant again today. Obviously, there's a lot of talk around the 3 designated players, but how important has Benoit been for your team this year and your ability to get Bradley further up the field?
Yeah, Ben is very important for us for a number of reasons. He's a true professional on the field. He brings presence and calm and communicates with everybody. He connects the back group to sort of the front group, which allows Michael to be a little bit higher. He's just a very intelligent player and very smooth on the ball, and a very good passer. A guy who looks to play forward and looks to play between lines and help us control sort of the tempo of the game when we do that. And I thought it was a nice balance between he and Colin today, and in terms of divvying up the work, but also being present defensively, moving the ball amongst them. It's important when our midfielders actually play with each other, and today you could see that our midfielders actually connected passes and played with each other, and that makes each of them better. But Ben brings a lot to our team in a number of ways, and I thought today, like you said, I thought he had a good day as well.
The team has kind of had trouble stringing together a lot of good results. There seems to always be one maybe deflating result in the middle. Is a result like this something that you can really take home and build off of going into all these home games down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. But every game in this league is different, and every game in this league is challenging, especially at this time of year. It's up to us, like today, to turn the game in our favor and try to win it. But you hope that these games are momentum games. We had a little bit of a shift in our system, if you will. It was positive for the day. We got what we wanted out of the day, but hopefully, just from a mentality standpoint, we know that coming home and playing, this is the last third of our season, and 8 of these games are at home. That we want to build momentum, and we want to build back into who we are and what we want to be as we move to the latter stages of this season and into the playoff picture and ideally into the playoffs.
One more question, guys?
Was your mindset coming into this match that this was a must-win for you guys after the 2 bad losses, and then looking at where you guys are in the standings relative to Orlando creates that separation now? Did you personally look at this as a must-win for the team?
I did. We as we approached the week, even last week, the mentality of the group was very good going into New York, and the competitive spirit was good going into New York. So I knew our mindset was okay. The game didn't go the way we had intended in New York for sure. But we carried the mindset over into this week. We made some adjustments. We sorted out a few things, but we felt like this game, and I didn't say it was a must-win to the group. They very much know where we are, and they know where everybody is in the standings, and they know the importance of these home games because we've been talking about it for a long time. But for me, just again to break the streak of not great performances, 2 losses, to reestablish ourselves now that we're at home, I thought this was a very important match for that, and in pretty emphatic fashion, we got ourselves back going in the right way.